Hey there, good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Coffee Solo audio program. We are recording this at 6:31 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in Greater Vegas on Saturday, June 27th, 2026. I'm your host, Dan Hugo, as always. For some reason, I guess, kind of like being in a hotel with the air conditioner turned to like freezing. The air, I guess the humidity level in my home dropped down to a reasonable level. It's been fairly humid lately. So I awoke with a sort of a sore throat feeling, I think just because it was dry. And so now I have the same sort of voice, I think, that I would get from talking all day at a trade show or something. So it feels like a sore throat, and not a illness sore throat, but like a scratchy, tired throat. And I think the lower humidity probably just dried me up. So yay. Freeing up focus is today's initial topic. I literally have 3 bullet item notes, but it seems like there's just a ton of stuff going on. So I figured, hey, I'm awake. The sun is up. It's not 80 degrees yet here in the desert. So I'll create an episode of Coffee Solo. So here we are. Hopefully, wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a brief summary, which I will read to you, and the links. They're just the usual links. I rarely add additional links for the Coffee Solo program. So there you go. The summary. I spent all year, fiscal year, so June, actually May of 2025 to now. I spent all year looking for people in and beyond Vegas, where I am, to join our board of directors for the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, which is a charity. I've mentioned it before. Just in time, we have our annual board meeting yesterday, and I can file the paperwork for the next fiscal year with actual board members on it. We went through all of our 2025, 2026. Yeah, sorry, it's early. Fiscal year. So last June to now with no board members except for me. And so it's kind of a quiet year anyway. It's a weird time. But I can file the paperwork, our annual list for the next fiscal year. It's due on the 30th of June. And we can get on with that. So, and some other stuff. So I'm freeing up focus because it was just taking a lot of my attention. It was one of those things like, it wasn't an everyday thing, but every day the clock was ticking down and it was frustrating. It was just a thing that had to be done, and it has been. As usual, this audio program is first available at the ko-fi.com site, ko-fi.com/DanHugo/posts. That is the site for which this program is named. It used to be published there exclusively, Coffee Solo, but eventually it became clear that nobody goes to ko-fi.com for podcasts. So it is published there first still, but then it is published in the usual places. So it appears on Spotify and Amazon podcasts. And although come to think of it, I haven't checked that in a while. I should take a look and make sure everything's still publishing in those places. And plus, ko-fi.com, no RSS feed. So it kind of leaves anyone who still uses podcatchers, which I'm guessing is a lot, or an application on their phone that does the same. So it reads RSS feeds and then creates your collection of subscriptions, or however they present it. So yeah, so now it publishes 2 hours later in all the other places, including YouTube, which is still broken, and there's an RSS feed, so you can have your way with the collection of episodes however you like. There is the Coffee Solo home. It's not the website home. I mean, there is no Coffee Solo website that I'm aware of, but I just put them on my vanity website, danhugo.com. Now, I've been talking about this forever. Now I can actually focus on making those websites for all of my audio programs look a little bit nicer. And I'll get into that in a second. But and then the profile page linking everything is buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo, arguably competition for Ko-fi.com. I see more Ko-fi.com links out in the wild. People will embed their Ko-fi.com embedded widget or link in their open source projects or on their websites and so on. So it's strange because I think buymeacoffee.com is a little bit more capable. I use it for the profile page. It's a freeform web page with a very, very bad editor that you can put links. So mine has links to all of my audio programs and other productions, projects. There are some affiliate links if you care to support the efforts that way. You don't have to buy me a coffee nor click on anything at all, really. But it's out there. Some people historically, I think 5 people ever, 5 or 6, have actually clicked to buy me a coffee. But don't worry about it. You can if you want. I'm not going to say no. But yeah, if I was producing all these audio programs to try to make a profit from that, I would spend a tremendous amount of time, more tremendous an amount of time, marketing and production, getting guests and so on. It's not really quite about. I have other stuff that I'm trying to do for money in my career field, which is tech, computer technologies, engineering in general. So consulting. So podcast, audio program production is I would call it more like a hobby level, getting the word out, getting the message, having some receipts, things like this. So there you go. I'm sorry, my voice is actually, it's like scratchy. So I should make some tea this morning, not coffee first thing. So let's get on with the show. The outline is not very long today, so I don't know how long we'll have together, but our board of directors now has 3 people, and I can relax and get back to work. It sounds a little odd, right? So I have spent all year, I've been reaching out to people like crazy. I've been reaching out to teachers, principals, people in the school district to try to connect with educators. I've reached out to people in the press to try to help get the word out about some of our activities. I've been reaching out to people in the nonprofit space to see if anybody knows of a person or people who would want to participate in the governance of our organization. I've gotten a lot of, oh, yeah. Faux interest, I guess. Oh, yeah, that is really interesting. This is really cool. Yeah, I'll see if I know anybody. And then I'm going to guarantee, even though I don't know, but I certainly feel that is the last that anyone ever intends to ponder even the name Innovate for Vegas Foundation, right? Are you going to tell your friends, oh, yeah. And they're shaking their head no the whole time, right? So I posted a job listing on LinkedIn, and I got 16 people that responded. But of those 16, only one person actually was responsive and expressed any interest, although I think it was on Thursday, I said, so I'm not really sure exactly if you are interested in proceeding and joining our board, but we need to have an annual board meeting, that we just need to have one. And I figured it would be a good time to sort of, so if you are interested, the other person who I've known forever, he's a former colleague from Intel who he has not lived in Las Vegas, but he used to be in Vegas so much that he's kind of involved in some Vegas things. And he was a member of the board. He had a couple of different roles with another nonprofit organization here in Vegas, even though he lives in California. So I said, hey, would you consider? And he's like, yeah, that's it. So I said, oh yeah, I'm done with that other organization after 12 years. So I've been looking around for stuff. So, this fits well with what I would like to accomplish. And we've known each other. He's like, oh, I've always been interested in what you're working on. So very nice to hear such things. And so, yeah, we needed 3, for a nonprofit, for a charity, for a 501c3. I read somewhere in the IRS pile of suggestions that they really would like to see a sort of a 3-person minimum, none of the people related to each other. It's just sort of a checks and balances, right? You don't want to have a charity run by, I don't know, a family of grifters, maybe aligned with someone in a political office, and then have them mistreat their donors by just taking their money and misusing. So anyway, so I think mission accomplished, which is it's a nice way to begin our new fiscal year, which begins on July 1st. So I have to file our annual list, which is with the state of Nevada, $50. You list who the people governing the organization are, and yeah. So it turns out this may be just me. I don't know. I don't know if people, I think probably other people do this. So you just have this thing that's hanging over you. It's not quite a sword of Damocles. It's not like it wasn't going to kill me or ruin anything. You know, the problem is that I had to, it was something that was, well, yeah, it was hanging over me, but it was like, I have to get this done, and I'm really having no success finding people. And so every day that passed was the clock ticking down, as I had said. And there was, until I did the LinkedIn job post, I was really getting no traction at all. And I really needed to find one other person, because I figured my former colleague was already a yes. So, okay, good. So during the, like, I'm not saying it was paralyzing, but the whole year it was always like, oh, we still have to get we have to get people. And I didn't want to get like I don't know how to say this, not just anyone, because it turns out when you get the first person that says yes, and that's it, then things turn out as you would expect. So the third person, that's not real. That's not, I mean, we're all kind of the same, right? But chronologically, the third person is an interesting person. He's interesting and interested. There was another person from the LinkedIn job post that was more into finance. That would have been an interesting addition to our board. She asked a bunch of questions about how we operate as a business, you could say, bookkeeping software, reporting, budgets, things like this. I answered all of her questions, and then I've never heard from her again. So I think that would have been an interesting fourth person on our board. But you can't just say join our board and then that's the way it is. But having those conversations, like answering questions and describing what we're doing in a little bit more detail, was good. Our previous board members, it was more like a given, and like, oh yeah, you know this person, and they, okay, sure. And it was not, I'll say for myself, I didn't really take it quite as seriously. And then that went as you would expect. Like, it was a little disappointing. So yeah, the whole thing has been weighing on me a little bit, and that has slowed me down. Like, are we still, would it be better to just kind of give up or shut it down? Or if nobody's interested, if I can't get just one or two people to actually sit here and take a little bit of time now and then? Board meetings are not 10 hours, and they turn, there's a few business items. There's always an agenda. I prepare that ahead of time and all that. So, but yeah, we usually end up talking about the lay of the land, the challenges of civic volunteer organizations, interacting with municipal partners or not interacting with them, as the case may be. So yeah, we had an interesting conversation yesterday. The business part of our meeting was pretty quick, and then it was mostly talking about some of the challenges of trying to get people to participate and so on. So we have our three people. I can file the annual list, $50. It's kind of funny when that other person was asking about our finances and whatnot. I said, we haven't done any donation drives or anything. So our total donations each year are for any serious effort by most charitable organizations would be considered absolute failure. But our expenses, while our donations in the past year have not exceeded our expenses, but both numbers are small. So our expenses are like $50 to file our paperwork with the state every year for renewal of our, technically it's the renewal of our state business license, but it's the annual update of governance and all that. So that's all just one big $50, $50 filing of a single document, and you're good for another year. We own some domain names, and that's it. So we have no expenses, which is sort of funny, other than domain name renewals. And so eventually, I guess the organization either owes me money or I've donated some money to in the form of domains. But very small amounts of money here. So hasn't been very interesting, I suppose. Maybe that was one of the things. Oh, you guys don't have any money? Then you don't need anybody with finance background. But yeah, when we do our Smarter Smart City Challenge, I'm hoping that we will get some donors and sponsors and some interest, and hopefully people will be willing to offer some prizes of some sort, incentives and prizes for people who participate and create new and interesting things. The idea is to spur local innovation by local innovators. Now, this is the same message we have for our organization, which I will have to be more clear about. People can join. We have a collection of initiatives that we have some degree. We have user story style, agile descriptions, not necessarily a specification, because volunteers. You're going to have one person spend all this time writing a spec that nobody ends up working on. So the agile approach, among other things, and no, we don't have stand-up meetings and all that stuff. But the agile approach, the parts that would work for this, where people don't have full-time jobs pursuing the agile project, right? Agile makes some assumptions about the fact that people are working and that they have stand-up meetings or whatever. And remember, anybody who I hate agile, isn't it? Like, I think it's the final of the 12, I don't know if they chose 12 things on purpose or if it's just the number of things they came up with when they formulated the notion of agile. But it's like, always evaluate how your implementation of these ideas is working. And I'm paraphrasing. This is not the actual quote. So always reevaluate that and decide what's working and what isn't, and make changes and so on. So people always figure, oh, we have to use it the way, our agile coach makes us use it, or we have to just follow the rules and that's it. And so they treat it as a very concrete implementation, but it's really more of an abstraction that you can make your own. And so Agile for Volunteers is a thing we've been working on. So we have these projects, initiatives defined with various component projects and so on. So we have actual plans, like here are the things we are working on that we would focus our civic volunteer time and so on, with the goal of accomplishing specific things. The Smarter Smart City Challenge and the Interstitial City Camp in September, these are for everybody to participate in to the degree that they want to. And then they can be done. They don't have to work. They don't have to commit to anything, only to themselves. So two different things, but the basic idea is to enable and encourage local innovation by local innovators, even if you don't know you're an innovator yet. I always describe it as, have you ever looked at something? I wish somebody would fix that, whatever it is. Like, well, you could. Yeah, but nobody's going to care, or why would I want to spend my time? And so it's a little bit of it. It could be a little bit of that, addressing that would be, well, how about if you do it in the context of this challenge, and then you get some recognition for your efforts and maybe a little celebration if your efforts are the choice that people want to pursue and so on. So the idea is to set up an environment where people feel that they can try out some ideas. I mean, that's how innovation works, right? You have an idea and then you want to try it out, and then make it worthwhile, make it so that they're not just, nobody's going to care anyway. Well, now we're going to shine bright lights on people that say, you know what, I'm going to try out an idea. So that's the basic notion. So we'll see how that works. And it would be nice if we get some support for those incentives and whatnot. One of the things I've learned in Vegas is that now, not everyone. I'm not saying 100% of the population is in this category. There are other people who volunteer their time for good causes and so on. So, right. So I'm absolutely not labeling everyone this way, but a lot of people I've come across are essentially, well, what's in it for me? Is there going to be something for me that will make me feel as though it's worth my time, to, and then fill in the blank, whatever it is. Early on, we got the, is there free food? Right? They expect, now, I will say hackathons usually have Red Bull and pizza and, junk food and whatnot. Those are usually sponsored. So I would say, look, we don't have any sponsors. And one of the reasons we don't have any sponsors is because we haven't done anything to approach sponsors and say, would you like to sponsor this effort? We have a presentation. We can describe what we'd like to do, but it's a chicken and egg problem. So you really have to find some people who want to invest a little bit up front to say, okay, well, we can do good things without pizza, but it would be nice to have some sort of a, it's part of the sort of the tradition, I guess. Hey, we're having a hackathon. You're going to be awake for 48 hours. So we're going to have Red Bull and you're going to be hungry. So we're going to have pizza, and none of this is good for you. I'm not saying pizza's bad for you, but it's, here, eat a bunch of carbohydrates, wash it down with too much caffeinated and taurinated beverage, and then back to work. So yeah, there's this expectation that, well, what's in it for me? And the other, along those same lines, what I found was people really wanted a lot of work up front to clear a path for them. I think you should do more, to write more things down and help me to decide that I want to spend time on this. So people really wanted to be pitched to, sell me on the idea of volunteering to help my communities. And that's a tough pitch because, most of what's in it for you is going to come from you, right? You have to feel good about elevating communities and pursuing ideas that may or may not go anywhere, but the pursuit of the idea is part of a process of learning. And, this idea didn't work, but we came up with 2 other ideas we can try that. There's a whole innovation pipeline thing, and it's, So the cool thing is there are people out there that do this. The unfortunate thing is they're very hard to find in Southern Nevada and elsewhere. So that is the next challenge, is to engage people who are interested, and then hopefully those people will tell 2 friends and so on. And that's part of the reason to do the city camp and then the Smarter Smart City Challenge. Believe it or not, we get no attention from local media, so we get no press, we get no news coverage. They do cover, this week there were 1 or 2 news outlets here in Vegas were covering the opening of a new coffee shop in Henderson. Henderson is like southeast of the Las Vegas. Everybody thinks Vegas is the Strip, so it's southeast of the Strip, but it's, good enough. New coffee shop opens in Henderson, gets news coverage. Hey, we're trying to enable everyone in the greater Vegas area, so essentially Clark County. We're trying to enable everyone to pursue their ideas to make our communities better, and then see if that progresses somewhere. Hello? Anybody? No? Okay, thanks, I guess. Thanks anyway. So I always tell people that the press in the Vegas area is really interested in demolition and construction of resorts and sports stadiums. They're really interested in crime. They're interested sometimes in politics, especially if there's crime involved. They're interested in shiny objects like the latest celebrity residence. This famous band will be performing at the Sphere, maybe. Or, the CES is coming up in January. Last year there was 180, I can't remember, 1,000 people. I think the larger CES events are up around 180,000 or more people in attendance. I think after the pandemic, it's been a little bit lower. Of course, they cover the tourism numbers. So all the stuff that people are sort of expecting already. So if you say, hey, we're doing something new, I don't know if there's any interest in that, which is fun because the greater Vegas area is calling itself a global innovation hub, a global innovation center. I got news for you. That means there's going to be a lot of new stuff that you should talk about, and people don't. And so it tends to be frustrating to try to get the word out. So that's another thing we want to work on, is how we can get the word out without relying on local press, without relying on local content creators. They mostly, like YouTubers, TikTokers, they're going to spend time on tourism facing topics. So, hey, Vegas Phil, hey, Norma Helly, hey, Jacob's Life in Vegas. How would you like to talk about the local economy and that innovators do live here? And hello, hello, did you hang up on me already? So yeah, it's going to be something of a challenge. So all this stuff was like blocked by getting this board of directors checkbox. And I don't want to diminish any aspect of it other than it was just another thing that we needed to accomplish to move on to the other things. And so there we are. Kind of along that vein, I also have the Cafe Genius stuff, and the Initiative 2026 includes setting up the Genius Roundtable second cohort and doing a rolling introspective of the participants in our local entrepreneurial innovator ecosystem, like actually getting people who are pursuing startup ideas, operating a small business. Some people will argue, oh, that's not really a startup. And I'm like, yeah, but you can be an entrepreneur but not pursue a startup, right? You have an idea. I'd love to open a new kind of coffee shop that does coffees from prepared in traditional ways from around the world and using local beans local to that method and so on. So, I'm going to make an Arabic or Turkish coffee. I've heard the same sort of preparation called both. I'm not trying to conflate them in other ways, but if, we're going to need the hot sand, we're going to need the what is it? A chevra? I can't remember what it's called. The little vessel with the handle that comes up diagonally so it's not hot. So you can swirl this thing around the hot sand. Okay. Well, that's not a tech startup, but it is an entrepreneurial endeavor because there's a little bit of risk. I'm going to need to raise money, either debt or equity. And I'm going to have to find a location. So people that start small businesses, especially by themselves, or they have a co-founder or whatever, they face some of the very same challenges. The goal is different. Oh, a startup has to want to attain unicorn status, and there's all these rules. And so I think when you try to tell someone that they're not a real entrepreneur, or that's not really a startup and all these things, I think you're doing yourself and them a disservice by not recognizing that people who want to do something new, you don't want to discourage people like that if you're going to tell people that you're a global hub of innovation. Because part of that is literally having a population of people who believe that they can do things, even if they've never done them before. Oh, you want to start a startup? Have you ever done it before? Then get out of here. That kind of stuff. You can't start swatting people down immediately. So here in Vegas, which believes it is much bigger a player in this space than it actually is, because it doesn't rank anywhere as far as actual things. So most of the rankings where Vegas does really well, I'm not trying to be anti-Vegas here, just a little bit of reality. Most of the things where Vegas does well, if we're ranking, because that's all that matters. How do you stand up against others? A lot of it is like scaled by population, or it's speculative. There's one that people are making a big deal of. Vegas is going to be the number one place for tech job growth. You mean right now? No, into the future, because there's a lot of job listings right now. And so based on the population of Nevada, it's going to be no. And you're like, wait. So these are not actual jobs. Oh, no, they're job listings. So there would be jobs when people get hired. Right. But a job listing is not a job. It's a job listing that may or may not have a job attached to it. And someone may or may not get hired. But going by job listings, that's a little bit hinky. And then, and you're dividing by the population of the state. So the population of the state of Nevada is something like is it 3 point? I think it's, let's call it 4 million. I don't think it's 4 million, but it might be plus or minus. I looked this up the other day, so I should know. Should I look it up right now? Probably. Let me look real quick. It's easy to do. Nevada population, if I can spell. Okay. Population. Have you ever typed something and you're like, oh, I misspelled that one letter. You backspace 12 times And 3.3 million. Oh, I thought it was closer to 4. I think because I know that Clark County, where Las Vegas is located, has, here it says home to approximately 2.3 million, but I've found more current numbers that are more like 2.4 million. Okay. And then Washoe County, I always think it's got more than 1 million people, and it does not, apparently. So this number seems low. I don't know if these are correct numbers. Nevada population 2026. Let's see what this is. No, they say 3.3 million also. So anyway, we'll call it 3.3. I thought we were climbing a little bit to 4. Anyway, people are convinced that we're going to be going nuts, and there's going to be tech jobs all over the place and so on. And no one is drawing a complete picture of what's happening. So I myself am concerned about gentrification and basically factoring out the fun economy employees, but in the face of actual investment in the fun economy. There's a lot of conflicting goals, and the pursuit of those goals seems to be not quite so coherent. So Initiative 2026 is, the idea is to get people who are pursuing their entrepreneurial efforts and endeavors, local innovators, right? So an entrepreneurial innovator ecosystem. And one ecosystem can exist near or even within another. People often think they can build an ecosystem. I think then you're just breaking the analogy. Like if you can terraform a place, right? So the equivalent ecosystem in the biological sense, there's a biome. A biome can be larger than any particular ecosystem. So you could look at the population of Greater Vegas and then the ecosystems in which they thrive. Some of them they move through. The ecosystems can be competitive. They may require resources that are scarce. So talent pool might be a resource. So the ecosystems are often, they use the term, and there is an analogy. You can, come up with a mapping of a biological ecosystem. The flora and the fauna are the biome. You have resources and temperature climate conditions. So, the desert ecosystem has some life that moves through it and lives there, plants occasionally. There's a certain amount of water. There's a certain amount of sun, heat, temperature range and all that. And so you can make analogs to things like talent pool and the terrain, the transportation, electricity, water, etc. So resources, the infrastructure, roadways. The infrastructure would be kind of equivalent to the trees. A forest has trees and whatnot. Trees are not the same sort of a resource as water, but they're certainly a part of the infrastructure that relies on and makes available water, right? So the xylem and phloem and how that draws water up into availability. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff. Occasionally it will feel as though an analogy is a little bit tortured, but somewhere I have done this, my take on it anyway. Depends on how complicated you want to make your economic ecosystem, like how granular and so on. I keep it simple. I have 4 things. Infrastructure, which is basically government regulation and legislation. Something, you can't just lay down a road network. You can have a private road, but it's really bigger than a company to actually, some companies, maybe SpaceX makes their space town in Texas. But pretty much the government's going to be driving the delivery of water, transportation networks, government or government agencies or government adjacent agencies, right? And so water, electricity, utilities, right? Those resources, getting around town, and then policies, regulation, legislation that enables certain types of business and prevents other. You can't operate something that will attract children or appeal to children. You can't operate that near an adults only venue, adult bookstore, liquor store, things like this. Those are in the public interest. So that's legislation and regulation. So you got to have all these things, access to capital, So you could treat capital as a resource like water, right? Got to have it, otherwise everything dries up. And the talent pool. So what do we have here? Legislation, regulation, access to capital. The talent pool. There have to be people around that are interested in participating in, for the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. You got to have people around that are interested in doing that. I think all ecosystems are not exactly the same. Like, not every ecosystem would depend on a talent pool. Not the same way, right? So for this, you got to have a talent pool across anything that's economic. So I guess that actually does make sense. Anyway, and then the culture of innovation. That's just the nature of the place. A desert is not the same as a rainforest. It's not the same as a savanna. It's not the same as a Arctic, tundra. So yeah, people have a strange sense of these ecosystems. But so the ecosystems can compete. There's different needs. Ecosystem is probably a word that's used too freely to talk about things like, well, what's going to happen with the fun economy people, the people that make that happen, right? The people in the hospitality and the leisure industry, as it's sometimes called, service industry, people who are working in hospitality in resorts, right? So room staff and concierge and the whole thing. If you decide, you know what, we want to have an economy that's more about advanced manufacturing, which is one of the key industries here, we're going to switch to, because we want to have higher paying jobs, high wage jobs. The tech stuff, of course. Oh, those, the median or average, I can't remember, but 92,000 a year, which is like almost double the typical salary of a service industry worker. Okay, great. So what happens when you start filling an area with people that are making 2-3 times as much as the normal population, that population that was here kind of powering the fun economy? Hey, guess what, guys? You can't afford to live here anymore. If you want to keep your job, you're going to have to move out farther away. You're going to have to move to Sparks, which is up near Tahoe. Now you're going to have to move to what's around Mesquite. You're going to have to move to the outer edges. Maybe move to Pahrump, and then somebody will just come up with, we can just have a commuter bus that runs out. In the morning you can catch a bus from Pahrump to downtown, the Strip or downtown Vegas. And then in the evening, it'll take you back, and so you can afford to live out in Pahrump. So everything will be fine, right? You want to stay in the service industry, and the service industry is, the fun economy. So the fun economy is shifting its focus to high value tourists. So instead of offering like, hey, everybody come on out, $4 buffet with steak and lobster, and don't forget to gamble. Now it's like, hey, you can land your private jet at here, and we'll have limo service bring you to your resort. And they're aiming for a customer who's just going to drop money like crazy. And the fun part is the monthly tourism tracker numbers from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority are suggesting that even though fewer people are coming to Vegas for all year in 2024, it was 42 million and change. And in 2025, it was 38 million. So like a 10% drop. I'm throwing around numbers from memory, and I'm being approximate, but it's something like that. So of course there's a little panic. Oh, we got to get more people back. But for some, it's like, well, we're doing okay because gaming revenue is actually up. So that means people are gambling, and they don't really report on the entertainment dollar. So, or the fun economy dollar, right? So when people are visiting, how much money are they spending? This sounds creepy, right? How much money are they spending to eat in restaurants, and how much are they spending for entertainment? Are they going to see shows? Are they going to the Sphere? Are they going to the, various celebrity residences? Are they spending money? Are they adding to our economy? They really just look at gaming revenue and how full hotels are, and then the visitor count, and the RevPAR, right? How many rooms do we have? How many are available, right? So how many are booked and how many are empty? And that number can change when you tear down or build a resort. It can also change if they're doing a remodel. So, we had 150,000 rooms total, but 2,000 of them are not available to be booked because of a renovation project. Okay, great. So you take all that into account, and you can compare how many people are coming here and sticking around for a while. So RevPAR, and it's, I can't remember what it stands for. Revenue per accessible room. Is that what it is? Per addressable, per available. Okay, accessible, similar. Revenue per available room. So the rooms might not be available. So that number can change, and they keep track of all that. So that's very interesting, but it's not very granular, and it doesn't take into account anything having to do with startups that are not in the fun economy and so on. So there's there's a lot of attention paid there, but it's not really paid to other parts of the local economy, and then the ecosystems that make that available to people, that make them go. You could say there's an ecosystem around the fun economy, right? The availability of tourists, visitors, is essential, and then the people that are working to support the visiting population, and all of that goes into that: restaurants, transportation, taxis, Lyft, Uber, eventually the loop, the boring tunnels. So there's, and so on. So gaming, entertainment, hospitality in general. So it's different than the entrepreneurial ecosystem. They do intersect, they do help each other, they do take from each other. So I think that's a complicated relationship. And then the LVGEA, that's the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, they just published their strategy, three-year plan, one of those. That strategy is in the word, in the title. How they're going to diversify the economy over the next 3 years. Now, 3 years is not enough time to do a lot of things, and they're going to try to do them anyway. And reading through the document, which I did, I find the 3-year timeline to be aggressive and perhaps overly optimistic. There are projections right now that water availability in the Southern Nevada area will go down over the next 3 years. And it may go down such that the ability to generate electricity at Hoover Dam will go down, which may reduce the amount of energy available for the Southern Nevada region, at least for a little while. That is a tough environment to invite people to either relocate or establish a presence in for existing companies. And now I'm not saying that LVGEA does not have any interest in startup or small businesses moving into their key industry preferences here in the Southern Nevada area, but it is understated. So there's a feel to it that they really want to have returns, job creation in the hundreds or thousands, actual, revenue booked while they're here. So startups and small businesses are going to have much smaller numbers, much smaller hiring requirements, smaller revenue. They may not be profitable if they're still early stage. Especially startups, right? Hey, come here and do your advanced manufacturing startup. Okay, great. Yeah, we need 4 employees, and we won't be making any money for the next 3 years. Oh. So, and they've offered to be transparent, but that'll be interesting to see how transparent they are and so on. So I think it's a good time to remind people that the Initiative 2026 stuff with the introspection, the retrospective on the downtown project. Hey, Tony Hsieh, the late Tony Hsieh, tried to change a section of the economy without breaking the other parts of the economy. So he focused on startups and small businesses in the downtown project purview, so downtown Las Vegas. And he did a lot of experimental things about community and enabling that community. I'm not really a fan of community building. I think you create conditions that are appealing to people, and then they form communities. And the test that I always mention is stop building the community. Does it still exist, or did they all just disperse and go away? If you build a community and you are required to continue building the community, otherwise it will wither and disperse, then have you built a community? Not really. There are geographical communities, right? Like homeowners associations, neighborhoods, right? Those people can't so easily pick up and move unless it's a mobile home community, maybe. Anyway, I think there's just a lot of things where people have to be more involved and more aware. And that is absolutely true in the entrepreneurial innovator ecosystem, where people are trying to do something new, something innovative. Obviously, it's in the name. And you cannot have where you are decide, you know what, we're going to totally crush you by changing the economy, gentrifying the whole place. You're relying on you're relying on foot traffic from tourism. Well, first we're going to have Formula One races that take all that foot traffic away from you for a while. And then we're going to double down on this and create a cost of living increase scenario for you. So now you won't be able to find employees, and we're going to change the nature of tourism. So we're going to only attract more expensive, higher value people who are friendly to more expensive options, and higher value customers who are spending money. They're not worried about fees. They're probably not going to go wandering around Vegas to patronize small businesses. You're going to be left with locals only, and the locals are going to be taking home less money because there's a reduced need for employees, because there's fewer tourists, visitors coming. So there's this whole system that's sort of interdependent on itself and other elements. And I don't know how much they've considered the upset to that system. So we'll see. And that's why Initiative 2026, which is part of the Cafe Genius catalog of great ideas, is actually becoming more important. And we'll see if it becomes more interesting to people. So that's something I've been kind of focusing on a little bit. Looks like 3 bullet items was going to be enough because, first of all, my voice is already, I don't know what it's doing right now. And then my clock says 49 minutes. It'll be 50 minutes pretty soon. So, and that is the pre-truncated. I try to truncate silence. I just noticed the other day that occasionally there will be this like noise shift. So there will be a little bit of noise because I truncate silence after I apply a noise reduction filter, so there's not hiss in the quiet parts. So if there's silence and then a little bit of hiss and then more silence, the hiss might persist because it's louder than the noise threshold. I'm sorry, the non-silence threshold. So when I truncate silence, the filter looks for passages of quiet below a certain level. And so when those get removed, they just get deleted. So ideally, a long pause will be made into a short pause. So maybe that's something. I'm considering not truncating silence, just so I don't get that weird editing effect. Anyway, I need a new computer one of these days. Every once in a while, it occurs to me that my computer that I've been using, I use it every day, all the time. I built this computer in like 2019. So it's old. It is old. I don't do any high performance computing per se. I don't need a Threadripper. I don't need to set up a home network of Epics or Xeons. But I do, if my computer decides to die tomorrow, I'm kind of out of luck, right? So I really, and then of course, in the face of memory prices going up 500% or something, that's uncomfortable to think about. DDR4 now, so it's kind of funny. People are like, gotta have DDR5, gotta have the latest, fastest of everything. And I'm like, I've been using stuff that was pretty good 6 years ago. So I could get technology that's 3 years old and it would still be an improvement across the board. So yeah, one of these days I gotta bite the bullet and do some sort of computer acquisition. And I think the interesting thing will take place if and when the AI bubble starts to at least creak a little bit, maybe show some signs of it's going to pop. The whole data center thing, the whole circular accounting thing, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Data centers are being built here in Vegas. People don't want them to be built. I think I just mentioned something about water. Oh, but our data centers don't use water. Okay. The interesting thing is that there's a place here called Switch. It's a company. They pride themselves on having 100% uptime, not 99, not 5 nines, 100% uptime, and completely air-cooled, on-site power, triple redundant power supplies, all kinds of good stuff, right? 100%. Good for them, good for everybody. But they have been operating their data centers with the traditional, data storage. They have clients with 3-letter names, right? CIA, FBI. So they're considered a high security, high value, reliable platform for data and processing and all that stuff. Okay, great. So then you look at the GPU data centers that are, cranking out model weights, training AI models 24/7. Their power requirements are allegedly much higher. Their total heat output, so the amount of energy you must take away from them with cooling, substantially higher. Can you do an air-cooled data center for AI use? NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, thousands, hundreds of thousands of them, who knows? Tremendous. That will be interesting to see what case is made. Can you do a closed loop water cooled system? Maybe. People are talking about that. Will states and counties and so on eager to have data? So we got to have data centers in here. Why do you have to have data centers in here? They don't employ any people. You don't have to have. If you have a data center that's the size of a mall, the mall might employ 2, 10, 20 people per storefront or location inside a mall. Maybe a restaurant employs a few more people at more of a minimum wage. Maybe you have some boutique shops that employ higher end, whatever it is, whatever the case. But you're going to have hundreds, thousands of employees in a mall. A data center might need tens of employees to do system maintenance and oversight of electrical and backup systems. You've got IT people. You don't need thousands. So the equivalent number of new employees in the same footprint as a shopping mall is very different. The revenue generation is probably very different. Data centers, maybe, I guess, are going to be paying because they're doing allegedly high value computation, but that's what the AI bubble is sort of based on, right? So are they doing any of those things? So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Computing technology in general. I spent most of my career how can I be more involved with computing technologies? How can I get into Silicon Valley and work at Apple, which I did? How can I work at this, and how can I learn that, and how can I, to watch where it's heading, I'm almost like, I don't know about this stuff, man. Everything is now basically how much money can we extract from people? How much energy can we extract from a location to enable us to extract more money? I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's necessarily good. So I have a doubt. That's from The Fifth Element. I have a doubt. I don't. Okay, I'm going to let it go here, I think. I think my voice is showing signs of going back to normal, which is not necessarily good, but it's not scratchy anymore. So maybe talking kind of loosened everything up. You can, I'll leave you to create that mental image. Really looking forward to removing this weight. Like I said, not a sort of Damocles situation. It wasn't going to kill me. There wasn't that level of danger. It was just more frustration, or I have to do this so that we can move on to the next things. So it was still a thing. It was a thing that we had to get sorted out. I think our board of directors, though small, we can add more board of directors, more directors to the board, I should say. We can increase the size of the board of directors. And so maybe that finance person will contact me next month. Hey, whatever happened to that? Now, I definitely told her we needed to, we needed to take our steps forward into actual accomplishment after the 30th. So if I don't hear from that person by the 30th, that's the way it is. But through the year, if we start, okay, so Vegas is very much into the, oh, what are you working on? Oh, that does look interesting. How can I participate? How can I be a part of this? Can I get in on this? It looks like there's something in this for me. And I would say, oh, actually, I emailed you or I contacted you directly 6 months ago, and you blew me off. You didn't respond in any way. So it's only interesting when it's interesting to you. And that's the nature of Vegas. There are a few of those little nuggets of wisdom I've acquired over the last 13 years. Excuse me. You really gotta offer, like, what's in it for me? You have to address that if you want to have people interested and involved. And like I said, often it's got to come from within you. What's in it for me? It's what you make of it. But I don't know. We'll get there eventually. societies mature over time, right? All right, I'm going to go. Thanks for listening as always. Check out the Buy Me a Coffee page, even though this is inspired by and launches first on Ko-fi.com. All the links to everything I'm doing are on buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. I guess I could make posts about it, but Ko-fi.com doesn't really seem to have the same approach. They're more about selling products or posting updates and things like this, which is fine. But the fact that the Buy Me a Coffee site has that freeform link tree, as I call it, makes it a little bit more useful for things like, hey, I'm working on 25 different things, and here's links to all of them in a static format, right? So anyway, thanks for listening. Whenever you're listening, I gotta get back to work. Now we can move on to the other fun stuff that I need to accomplish and spend more time on those. Less angst, less hand wringing. Where am I going to find? Oh, I found them. So, sense of accomplishment. Now on to the next things. Thanks for listening as always. Take care. Until next time. Bye bye.